Hi, everyone. My name is Aubrey George. I'm the Director of Grants and Sponsored Programs at JSTD. Thank you so much for joining us today for our JSTD LifeHomeTech webinar. For those of you who are unfamiliar with JSTD, I think most of the people here today know about the agency, but we are a multifaceted provider of services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities based in Livingston, New Jersey. We offer residential services. Our homes are located in Morris and Essex counties. We have an innovative day habilitation program called the Way Center. We also offer therapeutic services and our Home to Heidi Gallery, which is a public art venue committed to inclusive and accessible programming. We launched JSTD LifeHomeTech in the summer of 2023 with a grant from the federal government. Susan Nasberg Abrams is here today. She will provide information on LifeHomeTech. But before I move on to Susan, I have a few reminders. Please stay muted throughout the presentation. We will have a Q&A at the end. This session is being recorded. Feel free to keep your camera off. We will be adding directions for closed captioning into the chat. They were also included in the reminder email. Thank you all for being here today. And now I'm going to pass it on to Susan.
Hi, thanks, Aubrey. Thanks to everyone else for joining us tonight. I'm Susan Nasberg Abrams, and I'm the project coordinator of LifeHomeTech, which means that I run the day-to-day implementation of the program. For those of you who aren't at the last webinar, I'd like to introduce you to what is LifeHomeTech. LifeHomeTech is an initiative at JSTD to use enabling technology for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Our goal is to create a greater level of independence and improve quality of life. We're committed to always using a person-centered approach, which means that we look at the specific needs of every individual before we implement or recommend any piece of technology. Currently, we're working to integrate appropriate enabling technology into our JSTD residential homes. We're also working to educate others in the broader community about how enabling technology can benefit those with IDD. That's why we developed this webinar series. We have 2 more sessions that we encourage you to sign up for. On March 7th, we'll be discussing building independence with routines and drop-in supports with the Amazon Echo. On April 4th, the topic will be building independence through task prompting and social supports with the iPad, tablet devices, and apps. And we're currently working on other webinars, which will be announced soon. Before we get started with today's session, I just want to introduce the rest of our team. You already met Aubrey. Jessica Goldstein is the Associate Manager of Programs, Outreach, and Communications. Along with Aubrey, she helped us to secure this grant. You'll hear from her a little more later. Randy Lesser is the Director of Quality Assurance for Technology. She oversees compliance standards and leverages tech systems to ensure high quality service. She's working the back end of our Zoom today. Tatiana Copeland, she's the Project Assistant for LifeHomeTech. She helps out with the day-to-day process of making this grant happen. Tatiana will be watching the chat, so if you have any questions, we encourage you to ask them in the chat and Tatiana will make sure that they are answered. We're excited to have Emily Anderson lead today's webinar. Emily is an enabling technology specialist, as well as a certified aging in place specialist. She currently serves as the enabling technology manager at SimplyHome. I'm going to pass it over to Emily so she can explain more about SimplyHome and how the Ring Doorbell can help build independence and safety at home. Emily, thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for having me, y'all. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to gather today. I'm excited to share a little bit more about the Ring Video Doorbell and ways that it can support independence and overall safety. So I'll start with some information you all may already have, which is a little bit of information about SimplyHome as a whole. And to kick us off, a little bit about our company, who we are. We are a North Carolina-based company. We are committed to flexible, accessible, and consumer-centered supports that maximize independent living. We are based actually in Asheville, North Carolina, but we have the pleasure of supporting individuals across the country and in Canada as well. Currently, we have about 750 active locations with our technology in place. And again, we have the pleasure of collaborating with over 200 provider organizations and state agencies. And really kind of how we started our kind of growth into technology was really more to kind of rethink through providing long-term care, and what shape this could take, other than some of the kind of methods that have been used historically. And so really we tried to kind of think outside of the box, and we've actually designed some customized solutions to help folks feel empowered with their independence. And I, always happy to chat more about those, but really the highlight of today's conversation is to learn more about the Ring Video Doorbell. But before we actually kind of dive into the tech itself, I really kind of want to shine a little bit of light on kind of how we want to approach independence as a whole and how technology plays a role in that, and introducing the concept of dignity of risk. That in order for us to acquire new skills, we must have the ability to try, even if that means learning through one's failures or successes. So sometimes there can be some trepidation and some hesitancy when it comes to implementing tech. It can be a little scary. I understand that. But we want to be clear that technology does not necessarily mean less people. It's really more of a complement to staffing, or to supports, natural supports. Technology really just allows for the greatest amount of independence with that safety net in place. Let's kind of just briefly kind of go over enabling tech. I know a lot of this will probably be super familiar to you. I think you've had the pleasure of chatting through some of this before. So really just here are a couple examples of technology. They could include off-the-shelf items. They could also be customized items that are designed and developed with the person at kind of at the center. As Susan noted, a very person-centered approach, kind of taking that person's specific goals or desired outcomes and using those to really design technology solutions, or even the timeline in which technology is introduced. So without further ado, let's dive into the Ring Video Doorbell. So the Ring Video Doorbell is a Wi-Fi connected device. It utilizes just your standard high-speed internet. Nothing, you don't need the fastest available out there. Really just anything kind of at that basic level of high speed from an internet service provider. It's a wonderful tool that can help provide individuals with teachable opportunities for learning how to address visitors safely and providing supports with greater peace of mind. And we're going to circle back to that concept of teachable opportunities numerous times throughout today's conversation. Through the Ring Video Doorbell, an individual can see who is at the door without actually having to open up the door, offering up an easier way to make safe decisions, and also a way for things to be a little bit more tangible about visitor safety, and learning how to address folks without the pressure of having to face them face to face. The Ring Video Doorbell does have a high definition camera built in. You can see it there on this image here. That's the camera there. There's also a small microphone just off to the side of it. And below it, you'll see the actual doorbell button. Around that is a blue ring. That ring is not always blue, but it will light up if somebody presses that doorbell. We'll talk more about what happens when somebody presses that doorbell. So again, a little bit more about the device itself. How it actually works is in combination with the Ring app on a smartphone or a tablet. An individual can generate almost a call of sorts. You can kind of think of this more of like an intercom feature, essentially, between the Ring app on a smartphone or tablet and the Ring itself. It offers two-way audio and one-way video. And this means, again, to kind of circle back, it means that you can speak with whoever's at the home, but not necessarily have to do so by greeting them face to face. It also means that you don't necessarily have to be home to greet a visitor to the home. You could be out in the community and still be making safe decisions about your space. So let's break down the Ring app a little bit. So it's compatible with most smartphones and tablets. It works with just about all of the Android phones out there, really, it's less about the device itself and more about what operating system runs that device. So for Android, it's Android 9 or higher, and for Apple devices, it's going to be the iOS 15 or higher. It is capable of working on most tablets as well, provided that they have these same operating systems. It's important to note that a cellular data plan is not required in order for you to be able to utilize this device. As long as your smartphone or tablet is connected to Wi-Fi, you have an internet connection, and your Ring Video Doorbell has an active Wi-Fi connection, you'll be able to utilize both components. So even out in the community, if your phone is or tablet is connected to Wi-Fi, you want to open up your Ring app and greet a visitor, or check in on if motion were detected, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, then you're certainly welcome to do so. Again, it does not require cellular data plan attached to that phone or tablet. So the Ring Video Doorbell, when the doorbell is pressed, it will generate a push notification, or if motion is detected in front of that device's camera. The settings for motion detection can be toggled in a bunch of different ways. You can schedule those notifications. You can determine what range of motion that Ring Video Doorbell is looking for it to be able to trigger those notifications. You can also determine kind of what areas you don't want motion to be detected. So the push notification that we're talking about is just oftentimes it will have a small image capture. Now the screenshot I have here doesn't outline that, but often you can allow your Ring Video Doorbell to capture an image of what it sees when it generates this notification. So that way you at a glance are even able to see before you click on this notification, kind of what was the cause of the notification. So once you do click that notification on your smartphone or tablet, it'll open up the Ring View to a live view of that camera. And by default, I'll note that the live view will open with the microphone on your smartphone or tablet. It will open that with it muted. So you will not immediately be thrust into a phone call or a two-way audio call with this individual. You make the decision that you would like to be unmuted to speak with that individual. And that said, the microphone on the device itself will be recording audio. So if someone even wants to leave you almost a voicemail of sorts on your Ring Video Doorbell, that's certainly possible. And in fact, there are some automated settings for how that can be done in the Ring app itself. So as far as motion detection, I promised you we'd cover a little bit more about that. So this is a really cool feature, and I've actually offered you up an image of my own Ring Video Doorbell at home. This is my front yard, and what I've done here is I've actually decided where I want the motion to be detected. So I've eliminated, it's kind of hard to see from this screenshot, so I apologize for that, but I live on a busy street. And so I've actually eliminated the ability for the motion detection to look for motion at the street level. And instead I've isolated the motion to really just highlight my actual yard itself. Therefore, I've reduced some chatter from the notifications, and I've kind of made it so that way the information is just a little bit more relevant. I've also secondarily, I've changed what schedule the motion notifications are coming through on. So again, I live on a busy street. I do not want to know every single time a car is going by or somebody's walking their dog. They're free to live their lives. Instead, what I want to know is if someone enters into that motion range, that blue square, blue and orange square, if someone has entered that really only overnight. So I've actually set mine up to where just between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m., if motion is detected within that range, then I will get a push notification. So I really kind of fine-tuned the alerts to just be relevant to me during certain time frames. Now, that might look different if I wanted to know if a loved one had come home from school, and maybe I wanted to just know if motion had been detected during that time frame, maybe like a 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. type of range. All of this can be managed directly in the app itself, and it can be changed at any point. And it can be different based on day of week as well. So maybe that only applies to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the weekends look a little bit different. All of that can be managed in real time. So as far as, let's see, some of the accessories. So these would be some additional components that would help add some added functionality to the Ring Video Doorbell. Now, included in the Ring Video Doorbell as a whole is an internal removable rechargeable battery. Under that exterior cover here in this screenshot here, you can actually see the battery being slid down. In order to recharge that battery, a user must connect the included, so inside of the box when that Ring Video Doorbell is shipped, included micro USB cable to the battery, and then connect that USB cable to any sort of USB port or wall charger. I'll note that actual kind of USB brick is not included in the packaging and will need to be supplied independently. On average, it takes a battery about 6 to 8 hours to fully charge if it is empty. And the lifespan of the battery is fully dependent on those settings we've already talked about. So the more frequently the device is looking for motion or generating notifications that the doorbell's been pressed, the faster that battery will drain. At my home, I've already outlined some of the minimal settings I've applied, so it's not generating a ton of notifications. And on average, my battery lasts about 2 to 3 months, which is fantastic because then I'm not constantly having to worry about changing that battery. But again, the settings for the device will impact the specific lifespan of that battery. On average, I think a little bit different kind of moderate level of settings, it would probably mean that battery lasts a few weeks. So typically at SimplyHome, we recommend that an extra battery be purchased for use with the device. And the reason why is that when the Ring Video Doorbell hits about 30% remaining in the battery as the charge, it will send out a push notification and an email alert to the Ring account holder, letting them know, hey, it's time to change your battery. And that 30% will last usually a few days. So it's not an emergency alert. You don't need to scramble to change that battery. It really just means that you've got a few days, change out that battery. By having an extra battery safe and sound somewhere inside the home, hopefully fully charged, you've allowed yourself to simply swap out the batteries, put the fully charged one in, take that dying one out, put it back on the charger, and then you can just rinse and repeat the next time a need comes around. It also, the added benefit to this is that it means that your Ring Video Doorbell will never be without power, which means that it will never be without its ability to function. All right, and another accessory that we strongly recommend is a plug-in Ring chime. This would plug into any power outlet inside the home, doesn't matter where, any power outlet will do. And it acts as a wireless chime for the Ring Video Doorbell so that a user can hear if the doorbell button has been pressed, even if they were not necessarily next to their phone or tablet. Now, I know it's 2024. I think we're all pretty close to our phones most of the time. But I think this is a really nice way to just kind of stay informed and trigger kind of the response being, when I hear this, I should go to my phone or tablet and see who's at the door before actually walking to the door. It uses the same Wi-Fi connection that the Ring Video Doorbell does. So the same connection. It will also use the same app. Both devices will be connected in the same Ring app. Its settings also can be managed in the Ring app, and that includes customizing the volume if you'd like it a little bit louder, a little bit softer, and my favorite part is actually that it allows for different sounds to be used. And this includes some seasonal sounds, which is pretty fun. At Halloween, there are some spooky things like creaking doors or witches cackling and things like that. You can get pretty creative with it, have a little bit of fun with some of those settings. All of that can be managed in the Ring app, and I encourage you to play around with it. All right, as far as an accessory, this isn't a physical accessory, it's more about added functionality for the device itself. Ring offers an optional recording subscription called the Ring Protect plan. This subscription allows videos to be viewed at a later point. That could be just a few minutes later, a few days later, or even a few weeks later. Up to 180 days is that cloud storage lifespan. When a Ring Video Doorbell is first installed, it will activate a free 30-day trial of that Ring Protect plan. After that trial ends, the user will have the option of purchasing the subscription. To do so, a credit card will be needed to be added to the Ring app and account. The cost of the Ring Protect plan is $39.99 per year. And that's per camera, I should note. And that's the Ring Protect Basic plan. Once enrolled, the subscription will auto-renew each year, but can always be canceled at any time. Again, this is an optional subscription, and it is not required in order for the device to function, but it is strongly recommended. And the nice thing about this is that it really kind of helps to support those teachable moments where we can go back and look at videos and see what went well, what maybe areas for growth there are. The 30-day trial after the device is first activated is a great way to test out if there's going to be value in this trial. Now, I'll be perfectly transparent with you all. We're friends now. Ring will try to kind of upsell fancier plans. And I got to be honest, for the most part, those fancier plans are just more expensive and they do not offer a lot of added functionality. So the $39.99 per year cost that we've outlined here is really all that's needed. And I hate to see folks spend more money than what is absolutely necessary. So just a tidbit about that. As far as sharing access, so if you want more than just yourself to necessarily be able to receive notifications from that Ring Video Doorbell, you're certainly welcome to do so. It will be your responsibility to navigate that sharing process. And in order to share access to that Ring Video Doorbell, an additional user must have the Ring app downloaded and another Ring account set up. And on the Ring app itself, there is a QR code scanner. And as you would imagine, on the Ring Video Doorbell, there's a QR code. By scanning the two together, that essentially combines them. It adds that Ring Video Doorbell to that Ring account. In the eyes of Ring, that account holder now becomes the device owner. That's what Ring calls it. The device owner is capable of receiving alerts from the device and for managing the device's settings. If an additional household member or loved one would like to access the device or receive notifications from the Ring Video Doorbell, they would also download the Ring app and on their smartphone or tablet, set up a free Ring account, and then they would request access to the device in the app. The device owner, that original account holder, would then approve that request. And at that point, once they accept that invitation, they become a shared user. That's what Ring calls it. Sometimes it can also be called a guest user. I've seen those used interchangeably at Ring. Shared users can receive those notifications from the Ring Video Doorbell if the button is pressed or if motion is detected, but they cannot make any changes to the device's settings. That is limited only to the device owner. And there is no limit to the number of shared users that can be designated. So you could have a loved one or a caregiver or something with the ability to receive notifications, but not actually make any changes to that Ring Video Doorbell settings. And the installation process of the Ring Video Doorbell, it's wicked easy. And Ring has designed it to be very easy. So it really just, it's a very short process. It doesn't take very long at all. Excuse me. The device's box that contains the Ring Video Doorbell will have everything needed in order to mount the Ring Video Doorbell. Typically takes somewhere around 30 to 60 minutes, could be less. To start, the included battery would need to be inserted into the Ring Video Doorbell. From there, on the Ring app, the user will be guided through kind of the setup process as far as the digital setup of the process. Once that's complete, the Ring Video Doorbell bracket should be mounted on the siding of the home or next to the door. And if the door frame is wide enough, like in this photo, it could potentially even be mounted to the door frame. And that bracket is mounted using 4 small screws. Um, and then the actual Ring Video Doorbell is inserted into that bracket. Now, what you see here in this photo is actually this person screwing in a security screw. Now, this comes with the device, and it can be inserted into the bottom to lock the battery cover in place. It's optional. You don't necessarily have to use this, but if safety is a concern, this screw holds that cover in place to prevent the battery from being accessible and potentially removed. I'll note importantly that it does require that specific screwdriver in order to be able to use that security screw. They very creatively named it the security screwdriver. If you opt to have a Ring Video Doorbell installed, my recommendation would be to have a safe place set aside for the extra battery to go, and this Ring security screwdriver to be stored safely inside of a drawer or an accessible place should the need arise. All right. And I might be jumping the gun a little bit on kind of some of the conversations we'll be having next month, but I did want to kind of briefly introduce the fact that the Ring Video Doorbell can actually integrate nicely with the Amazon Echo Show. And the Echo Show is a screen device that utilizes the Alexa Smart Assistant. You've probably seen some commercials for it, but really what is nice is actually that Amazon owns the company Ring. And so the integration is quite seamless as far as it's very easy to set up. It's very easy to maintain, and it allows for hands-free access to the Ring Video Doorbell, both its camera and its microphone. And how you set up these permissions is you actually kind of allow the 2 relevant apps to speak to one another. So the Ring app allows the Alexa app to both be able to chat one another through the use of the Ring skill, is what Amazon calls it. The Echo Show can be used to see a visitor to the home as well as to converse with that visitor. But I do want to make sure that I note that no settings for the Ring Video Doorbell can be managed, manipulated, changed on the Echo Show at all. So the Ring Video Doorbell is managed in its own app. The Echo Show just provides some added functionality, a great way to kind of have a hub that you go to when you get those notifications, a great kind of shared space to be able to see who's at the door, speak with them, and maybe even a little bit more comfortable to use than something like a tablet or a phone, perhaps. As far as the ongoing management of the Ring Video Doorbell, it really is a third-party product. SimplyHome has acted as a vendor for this device. So any ongoing troubleshooting, maintenance, or overall management associated with the Ring Video Doorbell will be the individual's responsibility. Any questions or concerns should be directed to Ring's customer support. And I've noted their number here, but it is also all over their app and any literature that they put in the box that holds the Ring Video Doorbell. And I'll say on a personal note, I contacted Ring customer support a number of times, and they are absolutely sublime. They are just fantastic to work with. And I hope you never need to call them, but if you do, they're incredibly helpful. So just kind of a note about setup and ongoing management there. Now, kind of how the Ring Video Doorbell could be potentially helpful in kind of this sort of audience, perhaps. It's intended to support those teachable moments that we keep referring back to. As an individual works to build independence and empower safe decision making when it comes to addressing visitors to the home. As with most technology introductions, it should be done in phases. This establishes tangible milestones and measurable success, so that way you can kind of determine when the next phase is appropriate. An example might be of a phased approach, perhaps, might be starting with the Ring Video Doorbell at the family home. Let's say an individual's long-term goal would be to move into their own apartment or own space. So we start with the Ring Video Doorbell at a space that they're already living at. They're already comfortable. They already know the routines. So the Ring Video Doorbell goes there. And while there, the individual can learn how to use the Ring Video Doorbell and its app, start to get kind of familiar, lay that foundation, if you will. Supports can then assist with reviewing successful interactions and outlining opportunities for growth. The next phase could involve the individual utilizing the Ring Video Doorbell independently with only occasional check-ins from supports about its use. And then as the individual transitions to that independent living situation, the final phase would involve including a Ring Video Doorbell for use at the new home, so that that existing skill set honed at the previous location can also be replicated and utilized at the new home. Supports could still remain in the loop using that shared user access if that feels comfortable to all involved, to help with the decision-making process regarding guests. But it's important to note that this device really isn't intended for remote monitoring. It's really designed to support making good decisions and empowering someone to have the tools needed to do so. All right. And I did want to open up the floor for questions. I included some contact information for myself, as well as my colleague Megan, who has been kind enough to bring us all together today. So I did kind of want to include that here at the end in case anybody has specific questions. But if you're okay with it, I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your beautiful faces, and just open up the floor in case anybody has anything that I can do or anything that I can cover to be a little bit more clear about the Ring Video Doorbell, its functionality, best practices. Feel free.
So if anyone wants to chime in at any point, feel free. But we do have a list of standard questions that we've received about the Ring Doorbell. So if those questions don't cover anything and we're missing something, please feel free to jump in. But I just want to start off with one of the most frequently asked questions. Can the range of the view of the Ring camera be changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So ultimately, by default, the range for that motion detection or the camera view starts at about 5 feet, and it goes to about 30 feet. And it is a fisheye lens. I think the angle is 150 degrees as far as the field of view. And then in the app, you can actually fine tune if you want to take advantage of that in like kind of the most amount of that functionality, or if you'd like to reduce that a little bit. But it is important to note that the Ring Video Doorbell's camera cannot be tilted digitally at all. It's not something where you can go into the app and say pivot to the left or pivot to the right. It's really a stationary camera, but that 150 or 140 degree field of view really gives you a really great perspective. It almost kind of brings it flush with the house. So it can be customized in the app itself.
Good point. Thank you for that, Emily. And then another question we got was, can other devices besides a smartphone be paired with the Ring camera?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think the most exciting one is the Echo Show. I think that one is probably the best one that connects with it. I think that hands-free capability is just fantastic. I think that it's all the other wonderful things that an Echo Show can do make it all that much more wonderful. As far as some other devices that could connect to the Ring Video Doorbell, I've had some clients historically utilize like a smart light bulb that when the doorbell was pressed, they would actually have it connected or integrated in a way where that doorbell would, or excuse me, that light bulb would shine a certain color, perhaps, which is kind of a nice way to maybe be alerted. Maybe not quite as abrasive or alarming as the ding dong sound of a chime, something like that. And then as far as other kind of like screen-based devices, the Ring Video Doorbell is compatible with the Fire Kindle tablet, as long as I believe if it is running the operating system 7 or more recent than that. So again, that's because everything is owned by Amazon. Their tablets are capable of supporting the Ring Video Doorbell's functionality as well.
All right. And is there a maximum amount of smart devices that you can pair with a Ring?
Not to my knowledge, no. I can think of best practice is to, I subscribe to the idea of there can be too many cooks in the kitchen, and kind of understanding, where this information is going, and really kind of fine tuning who's responsible for receiving information from the Ring Video Doorbell. But ultimately, no, I don't believe there's any limit attached with how many different devices you could utilize to connect to the Ring Video Doorbell's camera feed.
Okay. Another question that we got was, what surfaces can the Ring be mounted on?
Sure, a good question. So in the box, everything you will possibly need for mounting that Ring Video Doorbell comes with it. Includes regular screws, screws for mounting on brick. So you could do vinyl, wood, like I said, brick, even stone will work. But what I'll note about stone is that if it is uneven, that may prove a little bit difficult to navigate. The Ring Video Doorbell is about 2.4 inches wide, and the screws to mount the bracket are on the very edges of that. So when you think about a flat space, really anything will work as long as it is about 2.4 inches wide. Some door frames just don't fit the bill for that. And so a better practice might be to mount it kind of next to a door frame.
Okay. And we had somebody submit a question. They said, my landlord won't let me mount the doorbell on the siding near my front door. Can it be mounted on the door itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wouldn't recommend it, is kind of my takeaway. The movement of the door means that battery cover might fall off, the Ring Video Doorbell might fall off. It also means that once you've opened up that door and now you're addressing a visitor face to face, the Ring Video Doorbell is kind of now a little bit like a bird on your shoulder and it's facing you. And that's probably not super helpful. So, really the best practice there would be to consider something like a Ring Peephole camera that would actually replace, it has all the same functionality that a Ring Video Doorbell does, but it actually replaces the peephole, and doesn't require any permanent modification to the door. Some folks also opt to utilize like a third party like door mount sort of thing for the Ring Video Doorbell. It almost kind of clips to the door and kind of holds it in place. I can't make any recommendations for specific products, but some folks have found success when their landlord is not too keen on holes being drilled. There are some ways around it, but again, that does mean that the Ring Video Doorbell is attached to the door itself, and the same initial concerns kind of remain about it's not really facing the area that it needs to whenever that door is open.
Okay. And can the doorbell be hardwired to existing doorbells wiring?
It does have that option. So on the back side of the doorbell, there is an area for wiring to be connected to two kind of little inputs on the back there. It's not required, again, by default. That Ring Video Doorbell is a battery powered device. So electrical wiring is not necessary. But if you have a hardwired doorbell already with electrical wiring behind it, and the space is 2.4 inches wide or more, it's possible that you could opt to utilize that existing wiring to connect to the Ring Video Doorbell. It would still require the use of that battery, but really how that would work is the wiring would actually connect to the back of the doorbell and keep that rechargeable battery charged. And then if you had a hardwired chime as well, provided it was the appropriate voltage to be compatible with the Ring Video Doorbell, utilizing that existing wiring that's already connected to a hardwired chime would mean that you wouldn't actually need that plug-in wireless chime. The Ring Video Doorbell, when the button is pressed, would actually trigger that hardwired chime that you've heard for many years probably in your home, and it's got a very familiar sound to it. So it's certainly optional. Not every home is appropriate for it based on size and kind of electrical wiring kind of, configurations.
Okay. And another question that we got is, what happens if someone steals my device?
Another good question. Yeah. So Ring is ready and able to handle this question directly. So if somebody comes by and pries off your Ring Video Doorbell, Ring can replace it. You have to file a claim. I believe it's the actual device owner in the account holder needs to file the claim, but Ring will replace it in good faith. They also do sell some additional accessories that kind of lock the Ring Video Doorbell into place, make it a little bit more difficult to remove. But Ring actually has a really great policy about replacing any stolen devices.
And when you mount it onto the surface, can the camera be positioned to face an angle rather than just straight forward, or does it only have the straightforward option?
Sure. So in the box itself, with that all the fun supplies to mount the Ring Video Doorbell come with, it also includes an angled mount that you can opt to mount behind that bracket, essentially. And that will allow the Ring Video Doorbell, instead of being flush with your house, to pivot it in a particular direction. Some folks have opted for this if they have maybe like a walkway that leads up in front of the house and they want to focus that a little bit more, maybe a driveway or something like that. The angled mount is included, and it does at, I think, a 30-degree angle, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves. It's not required. You can opt to use it. And Ring does sell additional angled mounts too. So if not only do you want to angle it more and more and more that direction, maybe you want to angle it facing down or up, they also sell mounts that will support that. I want to note those aren't included in the initial box. Just that one corner or one angle mount is included.
Nice. Thank you for that, Emily. So that's all we have for the questions that were sent in. If anybody has any additional questions, anything you would like us to clarify, please feel free to chime in, or you can type something in the chat box.
Okay. Emily, thank you so much. It was great learning about the Ring doorbell, which is something that, is in our everyday lives, but thinking about it in a different way was great. I wanted to thank everybody that joined us today for our second webinar in our series. The webinars we're hosting are in connection with the grant we received with the strong support from Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. If you'd like to apply for one of our free enabling technology devices, including the Ring, the MedReady, which we talked about in the last webinar, and several others, please look forward for an email from LifeHomeTech@jsdd.org with a link on the application for the application form and a timeline about the approval process. We hope that you found this webinar helpful. Please share with your friends. We have our next webinar on March 7th, Building Independence with Routines and Drop-in Supports, and Emily will be back to talk more about that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we hope you have a great night. Thank you.